Dude, I feel like we're gonna have to keep this music even after we find better music because it's becoming a thing. Okay, welcome to Oh Brother News. I'm Gabe,
I'm James.
and we're brothers, and this is the news. What a fucking week it's been. Um, some of the stuff we're gonna talk about today. We're gonna talk a little bit about Pam Bondi and her history with the Geo Group, the Mississippi Bounty Bill, and the Missouri Bounty Bill, um, bringing back slavery in the South. Hooray! We're going to talk about TrumpGolfTrack.com, where you can see how much time he spends golfing. It's already more than I thought. We're going to talk a little bit about the confirmation hearings for RFK and Kash Patel. Of course, we're going to talk about the plane crash and the set of firings that may have led to it that had nothing to do with DEI. Yeah, that's that. And maybe some other stuff. Um, yeah, let's get into it. Where do
Yeah.
you want to start?
Um. Well, probably. How about the helicopter crash? Because that's still what everybody's talking about right now. The
Yeah,
helicopter
okay.
crash, and obviously it's DEI before he even knows what happened.
Of course.
Common
You
sense.
gotta you
Common
gotta
sense.
know. Well, he came into it knowing who he was going to blame. You know.
Pete Buttigieg.
Obviously, now that Trump is in charge, this is an Obama. This is clearly Obama's fault.
Or Biden's
Obviously,
or Pete Buttigieg. Yeah.
yeah. It was also Biden's fault. Like they're co-responsible.
I'm really surprised he didn't blame the trans community because I thought it's common sense that the pilots, must have been trans.
Well,
That
he,
must have
he
been
kind
common
of did by calling it a DEI
DEI.
issue.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, so here's what we're talking about. So there was, um, right now it's what? It's Thursday, January 30th. Last night, at like 11 p.m., there was a Black Hawk helicopter in Washington, D.C. was doing a training mission, and they had turned off their ADS, which uh, I think is transmitting GPS and like telemetry information. So like altitude, direction, speed, that sort of stuff. So that was off, um, and uh, they got into the flight path of a plane that was trying to land, coming back from Oklahoma or Kansas, somewhere in the middle of the country, uh, and had a head-on collision. And both vehicles, were incapacitated, fell into the Potomac River, which is super freezing. We're pretty sure there's no survivors. So there were 60 passengers and 4 crew on the plane, 3 crew on the helicopter. Um, First of all, this is a huge tragedy, um, and I feel awful for all of the families and people involved. Um, so Trump didn't lead with that. Trump didn't come out and say, "Oh, it was a tragedy, and we feel so sorry for the families." Trump immediately came out and said, um, "We know who's to blame, even though we haven't done an investigation and we don't have a head of the FAA because Elon wanted him to resign because he was giving SpaceX fines for safety violations. Imagine. So he resigned a few days ago. Um, it's because of DEI and Biden and Obama, obviously. So Trump, president, but still, I don't know, just like a power cuck. Just like, no, he's not actually in control of anything. It's still just all Obama, Obama power whenever anything goes bad.
Yeah.
Uh,
Not to mention, at a news conference, he went on to read a whole list of disabilities that he says are disqualifying for air controllers. And his administration is the one who changed the rules to hire such people in 2019. So, again, not his fault, though, even though his administration's the one who started hiring people with these, quote, disabilities. Somebody else's fault, not his.
So I mean, it's just there's so many things about this that are just such bullshit. Like I'm trying to find the list of all the things. Like I saw an Instagram post earlier, and I can't find a nice concise list. I just have this massive article. But there were some people on like a safety advisory committee. It was like they either gutted the committee or fired everybody associated with it. They put a pause on um, hiring air traffic controllers. Um, and there was one other thing. There was like somebody else, I think, got fired. Somebody else in a in like a aviation safety related job. And that on top of the fact that they had this like strong arming thing where they're like, um, we're gonna fire 17 inspectors general, uh,
Yeah,
without notice. So like he can fire them,
which is illegal.
okay?
30 days
Yeah,
notice. Yeah, and
yeah,
with cause
which is legal if he gives in 30 days notice. So that's the part of the law he was like, we're gonna
and
soft break the
with
law,
cause, and you have to have cause.
and you have to have cause. So the cause is like you're not Trumpy enough,
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah. Your
Like,
cause is that what you want to regulate this stuff. I want to profit off this.
and
No.
they're sending out
Mm-hmm.
they sent out
The
this like
email.
fork in the road email, but like even before the fork in the road email there was another email that was like, respond to this email and tell us like when you realized that like Trump was going to be a great president and like you were so excited to like be on team Trump, like when did you have your come to Jesus moment for Trump. uh so it's this really soft escalation of pressure because like everyone knows that like the Project 2025 plan that Trump knows nothing about but is somehow just like enacting exactly to a T. Um, has this thing where they're going to end Schedule F, which is like the most of the people who work in the federal government are are not presidential appointees. They're career public servants. I think we talked about this last episode. So like this the part of this is like they're going to try to fire everyone,
Schedule F. Yeah.
and put in a bunch of Trump loyalists.
And
So air traffic controllers are among these people, and they sent them this fork in the road letter that's like clearly an Elon idea because Elon did like the same thing when he took over Twitter. So it's
mhm.
this letter that says like,
If
uh,
you resign, we'll give you 8 months of severance pay. All you have
yeah,
to do is reply to this email and say that you resign.
with the word resign.
The word resign. And
Yeah,
then, and apparently, that's also causing other huge waves because, all the people in charge of making our submarines and nuclear weapons and things, they're all federal contract. They all got this email. And so if every single one of them decided, oh yeah, 8 months, cool. Now we have nobody making any of our weapons.
it's like was it 2 million people, 2 or 3
It's every
million people?
yeah, no,
It's at least 2 million. I think I can't remember if it was 2 or 3, but it's like it's multiple millions of federal employees, and among those are people in the air traffic controllers, also
yeah,
federal employees. So
Fed's
so
flabbergasted by it.
all of this like you know pressure on these people, and like to be clear, like there's no guarantee that like he's going to pay it because Trump is known for nothing if not paying people what he says he will pay them.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
when Elon did it,
He doesn't
people
pay
got
them.
at most 1 month of severance, and there was a
Mm-hmm.
$500 million lawsuit against Twitter.
Yep.
Uh, so all of this combined sure seems to make it look like it's Trump's fault and not DEI's fault. But we got to blame somebody else. We can never ever say that it was like, yeah, that was my fault, and I'm gonna do better. And this is unacceptable, and I'm gonna fix it. Can't say that.
No. Yeah, and you're right. 2 million, by the way.
Cool.
And they don't know how they're going to do it. They don't know how they would pay it. They don't even know how, because they had people call their offices and say, "How does this work?" Because the way the resignation email reads, they're like, "Do I continue to work for the next month, or do I not? Do I work remotely until this happens? What do I do?" And nobody knows because nobody even knew the email was coming.
Because I think the whole point of this
To
is
scare people into quitting.
to, yes, is to like scare people into quitting. It's like if you're gonna have a fight over if you're going to have a fight over like, okay, we want to overturn Schedule F and we want to just fire 2 million people and replace all of them with Trump loyalists, which that is verbatim Project 2025. That's a part of the plan. Like a big key part of the plan is to not only take over like during the course of his presidency, but ever after by capturing these agencies with MAGA loyalists. So the if you're gonna like come in and try to fire everyone, that's going to be a big legal fight all at once. But if you can you can fire a couple a little bit early without notice or cause, and then you can kind of like intimidate a bunch of other people into resigning, and oh well, they did it wrong, so you're not actually going to pay them, but maybe you end up paying some, but probably not all, and that's like its whole thing. And then these agencies are in like a state of disarray because some people take their resignation, some people don't. Nobody knows what the fuck is going on, so it's chaos, right? Chaos that you've created on purpose by design. And then you exploit that chaos to be like, hey, well, we can't have Schedule F because, like, look at the state of these agencies. Everyone's resigning. Like we gotta put some people in there. So we gotta get rid of Schedule F, and then we gotta put it in so the federal government can continue to function.
Yeah, yeah. But they don't want things to function. They want to they they want to make it not function well so that they can talk about the evils of the federal government. The federal government can't do anything right. Just look at it. Look at what a mess it is. That's why the federal government can't do anything right. Hey, rich buddy of mine, you want to buy it? You want to do this contract? How about we just give you a whole bunch of money, and then you can be in charge of it? Classic Republican move. You break it so the American taxpayers can buy it from a corporation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So that's a great segue on the topic of buying things from a corporation. Um, so last week we talked about Pam Bondi's uh, Senate confirmation hearing to be the Attorney General. Um, and so, like in reading up a little bit more on Pam Bondi because of some new initiatives, learned some
Mm-hmm.
interesting things. So one of the things that Pam Bondi was doing previously was she was lobbying for the Geo. I think it's Geo, maybe it's GEO, but the
GEO,
Geo group, um, which runs prisons.
yeah. Nice.
Um, so it's kind of like the plan is kind of revealing itself here. So it's really difficult to as the Nazi Party realized in the 1930s, it's really difficult to follow through on your promise to carry out mass deportations. But
Need camps,
what you do, yes, is you capture the people, and then you start building camps.
which they're doing. Guantanamo Bay. They're going to build a huge, massive immigration thing in Guantanamo too.
Yeah, they
There are
signed off to
camps
have
everywhere.
that used for 30,000 people, I think.
They're going to be everywhere.
Yeah, but they're also building other camps everywhere, which is why the Geo Group, among other prison, private prison companies, are like their stocks are just like
They're going
jumping
up.
up
Yeah,
because
private prisons.
yeah, private prisons. So that segues us into these laws. So Missouri passed a bounty bill,
They
and
didn't pass it.
Mrs.
They did not
I'm
pass it.
sorry, yeah, they didn't pass it. What did
Yeah,
they do?
they
They
a member of their state house, uh, proposed it.
it was just
And honestly, it's probably
I
not
thought
going
the
to go
House
anywhere.
passed it, but the Senate didn't.
Well, I don't believe so. No, I believe it
Oh,
just
okay.
they
Okay.
proposed it. It's not going to go anywhere, but it sends the same message of what people think is a great idea on that side.
So that's basically like putting a bounty on immigrants. So like, if you're a bounty hunter, you're law enforcement, you're just Joe Blow on the street, you can go up to someone who seems like they might be, an illegal immigrant because they're brown or know how to speak Spanish, and you can turn them in for $1,000 or two thousand
Yep,
dollars, some kind of
thousand
bounty.
bucks, thousand
Yeah,
bucks.
$1,000, which can be real helpful in this. Once the tariffs kick in and the price
Hmm.
of everything goes up, you're going to need
Hmm.
that $1,000. And then Mississippi was like, hold my beer, uh, and proposed a bill that would change the penalty for being an immigrant in Mississippi to life in prison. And I think we talked about this previously too. Like they have,
Labor.
they use the prisons for labor, and they pay them dirt. And so it's basically like, well,
Slavery.
rather than paying the immigrants low wages and just not letting them benefit from they're paying they're paying taxes, but they're not actually able to like take advantage of all the benefits of being a citizen. We'll just pay them nothing, make it illegal to exist in this country as them, put them in jail for life, and then make them work for free. Just bringing back slave labor.
Yep. Yeah, and Mississippi is they go crazy. It's not like just like picking up trash on the side of the road. Mississippi, they have 150 different private businesses that quote employ inmates. Right? Um, it's everything. They meat packing industry uses prisoners. Um, they use prisoners for cheap labor all over the place in Mississippi, which is no wonder why Mississippians are always are one of the biggest welfare recipient states. They're not competing against illegals; they're competing against prisoners. Yeah,
Ridiculous.
yeah. So it's now they do the one only good thing about it. If you have to find a silver lining, is that there are nonprofits on there, and they do help find work for people, and you know they do have they get more skill sets out of some of the jobs they use. But yeah, Mississippi's really big on prison labor. Some states don't do it, some states do. I don't know about all of them to do it, but I think it's a pretty safe bet to say probably all the South, Bible Belt states, they probably love it. uh, but yeah, private prisons lobbying. She's a lobbyist for them. She lobbies for them. She lobbies for Qatar. She lobbies for everybody else. Amazon, private prisons. She's done a couple of her little firms have done stuff for private prisons. So, but don't worry, she didn't list any conflicts of interest. When she was going to be confirmed.
Oh well, it's fine then.
Yep, she had no conflicts of interest.
Yeah, no conflicts of
But
interest.
yeah.
Just
Anyway,
like just like there was no conflict of interest when
I mean,
Donald Trump's fake charity donated
to Pam Bondi.
$25,000 to
Yeah,
her
yeah,
reelection campaign, when uh, Florida was thinking of, what was the thing that they were thinking about going after him for? Was
yeah,
it Trump University? The Trump University scam?
yeah. It was Trump University. She
Yeah.
decided not to go after him after he gave her a big donation. We'll say.
Yeah. So as the Florida Attorney General, she decided to not pursue Trump University for damages on behalf of the people of Florida who were taken advantage of by
Not a bribe.
Trump
It's a
University.
gratuity. It's not a bribe. It's a
Yeah.
gratuity.
And she decided not to, right after his charity, that was not really a charity, gave her $25,000.
Yeah, but she's going to be the next attorney general. I mean, that's pretty much a shoe in.
So, I mean, at this point, like, I think everybody's going to get through. I think he's going to sweep. I think everybody he wants. I
Yeah,
mean, I think,
Tulsi will not get in.
you don't think Tulsi?
I think Tulsi will not get in. And I will also say, for the one or two people who listened to the podcast last week, thank you. I was right. It's 51-50 on Pete Hegseth. Just had to say that.
Oh, yes, good call. Good call.
51-50.
Well, they could lose 3, so they're probably strategic.
Yeah, they'll lose more than 3 on Tulsi. Tulsi's not getting through. I don't think.
Well, like in 2016, I'm gonna guard against my disappointment by assuming that they're all gonna get in. What do you think about about, was it, is it Sean Ducey, the transportation secretary? So like right after Trump comes up there and blames DEI for the, for the helicopter hitting the plane.
Sean Ducey,
It's like I just read his name and maybe I'm just getting it wrong.
not the dude from Fox, not Steve Ducey, right?
Yeah, yeah, it was the guy from
Oh my
Fox. So this
God,
guy was
Steven
like,
Ducey, he's such a tool. Oh
this
my God,
guy. I swear it was Sean, but okay. But this guy was on. He got to start on the Real World Boston on MTV, reality television, and then he became a Fox News host. And now he's going to be that's who Trump has picked for transportation secretary. So right after he was like, it's definitely DEI and not all the people I fired from the aviation safety or all the pressure I put on the air traffic controllers. Uh, it's definitely the Browns. Um, and here's some
Steve
dipshit from
Ducey.
the real world to speak next. Just fucking ridiculous, man. Do they confirm the transportation? Is they confirm everyone in the cabinet or just
Just
some of
acting.
them?
No, they're all acting right now. They're all acting.
Okay.
Oh yeah, and then Steve Ducey is the same. It's the same idiot from Fox. Oh my God. Wow. Yeah. By the way, if anybody doesn't know anything else about Stephen Ducey, or it's Peter Ducey, right? Peter Ducey, right? Or is it Steve Ducey?
I'm gonna look it up, man. I'm gonna look it up.
We need to see if it's Peter Ducey, because Peter Ducey, Peter Ducey's dad.
Sean Duffy. I knew it was Sean. Sean
Okay, so it's neither
Duffy.
of the Duceys. I was about to say I didn't
Yeah,
hear
it's none of
about
the
Steve
Duceys. It's
Ducey.
just the
Or
Duffy. But
thank you. Okay, good.
their dunce names are all very similar.
Okay, yes, Peter Ducey was referred on a. It was the one that Joe Biden on a hot mic said he's a stupid son of a bitch. Anyway, sorry. There we go.
uh oh, and just jumping around here. Um, so
But yeah.
Hegseth was confirmed, and his first act was to uh, take away General Milley's security detail, while he also has threats from Iran against his life. Joining the list of other enemies of Trump who don't get. So here's my thing, okay? Like the the Democrats do this thing where they're like hand wringing and they're like, "Oh, you guys are so mischievous. You're just, oh man. And when we get back in power, we'll be the adults in the room, and we're not going to do this. We're not going to be like, no, no aid for you, Texas or Alabama, unless you do some education reform and make it easier for the black people to vote. We're not going to give you any aid, or like, oh, Trump, we're not going to give you any Secret Service details. You're our enemy. Fuck you. No security for you." Okay, they're not going to do that, but they absolutely should. They absolutely should. I'm so sick of the Democrats showing up to a gunfight with a fucking Twizzler. It is the most frustrating thing. Like, I want them to to be like, they need to be like a brilliantly smart, incredibly beautiful, like heart full of hatred, deeply vindictive ex-wife in a very contentious divorce. Like, they need to just bury the knife deep and twist it at every possible opportunity. They need to use power to the fullest extent that it can be used in every instance, because that's what they're up against. This, like, we're going to take the high road and get our asses kicked is not working.
Well, I agree, but right now they don't have any power. So
True.
when you are the minority, you have almost no power. You have a few tricks up your sleeve. You can't exactly get away with all the time, you know. And basically, that's the Senate and filibuster. That's really what they got. If you're on the House side, if you're the minority in the House, you got no power. You got nothing. You
Can they
know,
can they call hearings in the House if they're not, like,
if they're
if
not
they're
the
in the
majority
minority
party,
party?
no.
They
Wait,
can't.
wait,
So
wait.
they,
No, majority, the Speaker of the House calls hearings.
so I mean, they can't do anything official, but they can still. They can still
They can
call
talk
press
about something at another
conferences.
hearing. Yeah, they can have press conferences and stuff like that, and we know how many people watch those. You know,
That's true.
yeah, and
Although I've been seeing somebody like talking on Instagram, like it's like I think Chris Murphy or something like that. Is that a guy?
yeah, Senator Chris Murphy, Connecticut,
Yeah,
Sandy Hook, parents. Da, da, da. Yeah,
yeah, that's the guy. I've been seeing him on social media a lot, like him,
yeah. Him and
on
AOC are out there a
Instagram
lot.
or TikTok doing like 2 or 3 minutes of whatever on whatever the thing was. I feel like he's
Mm-hmm.
gearing up for like a presidential run.
Let's hope that we still have those, you know, elections.
Let's hope. Let's hope that we make it to midterms.
And here's a problem with with what you're proposing, basically, like twisting the knife at every chance, every hearing, every chance you get, do this. Like here, I'm looking at a Daily Mail article, right? It's just about Tulsi Gabbard confirmation hearing, right?
Hmm.
Headline is astonishing moment Tulsi Gabbard is screamed at by Democrat senator as confirmation hearing turns ugly, right? It's because he's talking about basically, hey, um, you said all these nice, wonderful things about Putin and Assad and everything else, and you were in this cult. I mean, she was in a cult. Everybody, let's not forget that she was in a
What
cult.
cult was she in?
Oh, what's the guru? What was her guru name? Tulsi Guru. Let's just Google that. Tulsi Guru.
Wow.
Why? Yeah. Um, Tulsi Gabbard picture an altar dedicated to her wacky anti-gay guru, Chris Butler. Yeah, yeah. The founder of the Hawaii-based Science of Identity Foundation. He's he's God's representative on Earth, according to Tulsi Gabbard and other people.
Dude, there's so many of those.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you can like if you can just find like a really
yeah. Hare Krishna.
pretty like a very attractive like 11-year-old boy and just swing him around like a stick, you could probably hit,
Yeah,
a good
it's an
half
offshoot of
dozen.
they're an offshoot of Hare Krishnas. And yeah, the foundation was formed in the '70s by Chris Butler, and since then, he's God's representative on Earth. So anyway, it doesn't really matter. Either way, the questioning was about, hey, did Assad and this and that. You have all these questionable things here, and you even sponsored a bill, to um, about Edward Snowden, right? Saying that Edward Snowden, is wronged, blah 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 blah, whatever, right? Like Edward Snowden took all of our secrets and gave it to Russia, man, and now he's in Russia. You know what I mean? And you're okay with that? If you went to job as DEI, you're supposed to be in charge of our national security, but apparently you're okay with our national security secrets going to Russia. You can't have it both ways. And yeah, he was hammering around that a little bit. But the whole article is all about it's astonishing. All these Democrats are so mad, and you know, and then I know that you never look at the comments, but you look at the comments, right? Everybody's all like, "Oh, these Democrat senators have been deliberately rude and disrespectful, and blah blah. Oh, they're so mean. Look at." Of course, they follow Trump. I mean, God, but you don't want to. It's kind of like what you told me last week when we were talking last week, right?
Hmm.
It's you're not going to win over any voters by saying that they're dumb and they're the reason, right?
Hmm.
Same thing. If you have people who may be persuaded to your side, right? Usually people don't like the person who's acting like the asshole, you know? So they try to be
No, I mean,
disagree without being disagreeable. They try to do that and, try and play their cards right. You know, I think they're just trying to play the cards right. They're hitting them when they can on some things. They're trying to just be political or whatever about it. And knowing they
did
don't really have
you
any real power to do anything about it, uh, try not to turn people off too much, and let the administration implode.
did you see Real Time with Bill Maher last week?
I did not.
Okay, so he had on. Oh, I'm totally forgetting the guy's name. He had on a guy. I think it's like Steven something. He's like a sports guy, but he's also like from Brooklyn. Uh, he's black. I feel like he's been a sports journalist for forever. He's great. Um, and I'd never heard him talk about politics before. And I don't really follow sports, so I just had kind of like you know seen him in like ads or something here and there. Um, but seeing him on the show, he was so great to watch. And every time he would talk about uh, politics, uh, he was so fired up. Like you could hear the fury in his voice. And I think that is a thing that people absolutely resonate with. Like, I think that when they hear AOC talking, they can tell she's passionate. They can tell she means what she says and she cares about it and she's upset about the way that things are. Same thing for for Warren or Bernie Sanders, and absolutely same thing for Trump. So I think the difference is like where Trump is uh, a pretend populist. He bills himself as a populist, but really he's just like you know trying to transfer as much wealth from anywhere that he can transfer it
Yeah, to
from
himself.
towards him and the people who are
Going to give him money.
gonna kiss the ring and help him get money. um those guys mean it, right? And like that populism, that like rich poor divide, and that like appeal to like common sense, and that's at the heart of like the whole DEI thing. So like DEI made a lot of sense originally when all the jobs just went to Bob's white nephew. It was like, oh, are you white and male?
Oh, Stephen Smith.
We've
You're
got a
talking about.
job for you. Steven Smith, yeah. Yeah, he was excellent on there. Um, yeah, no, it was so like we needed DEI, right? Because like we needed to correct the like refusing to hire people because they were not white men, essentially, right? Uh, but I think the thing that like people are like really frustrated by is the the perception that instead of hiring the most qualified person or the best person, they're hiring the best, most qualified person who also is from some minority group to say that they do it. And like, it's never because you actually just want to uh, hire these people because you care about them. It's always this like kind of corrupted incentivization, and then it kind of morphs into this like encouraging white guilt and this like victimhood mentality and like the victim Olympics. This whole set of things that are just really really gross, and I feel like the capstone on that like shit sandwich um is the stuff about like trans athletes. Like that's just the cherry on the top of the sundae. um because we all know that men are bigger and stronger than women, and that's why we separated the sports.
Well, all I gotta say is, eh, God, we've talked about this for weeks, months, probably. I think me and you have. It's only been a few episodes, and we've been trying to spend that much time on recordings of it. But I'm kind of sick and tired of people saying that shit. Because here's the thing: the Democratic Party is not out there speaking to the 1%. Like Stephen Smith talked about 1%ers. I've read the thing on there. He's talking about like why they vote for him. That he's convicted 34 times, for 34 felonies, and blah blah blah, and he's a felon, and this and that, and they'll still pick him because he said he's going to do this. And Democrats waste all their time talking about trans stuff or 1%, the issues that only affect 1% of the population. I disagree with that wholeheartedly because the Democratic Party, don't do that. They just, I mean, here for the most part, they just do lip service to them. I mean, they're not exactly out there doing a whole lot or speaking about trans issues. No, trans community, the LGBTQ community, they are doing it. They have some loud proponents for their causes, right? They have, I mean, people do parades, they do all these things here. The Democratic Party is not the one doing it, you know? Other people are, and they're getting picked up on media. And then somebody says, "Oh, like, ban this stuff, ban this stuff." The Democratic Party's like, "No, we're for equality. We're not going to discriminate against people." And all of a sudden, that's you're speaking to the 1%, man. Why don't you just roll over and let them fucking put them all in a camp and kill them? God, you're spending all this time defending those people. No, we're not. They're not spending all the time defending. We're not out there selling trans stuff to people. It's like in that thing with Kamala, man. It was like a one question from years ago and became this huge commercial and everything else. Kamala didn't say shit about trans stuff this last election. The Republicans just said she was talking about it. She didn't say it. Nobody was doing out there going out there. They didn't say anything about all that identity politics. She didn't even address the fact they're talking about what does it like to be the first woman president. She would dodge that question faster than like Keanu Reeves dodging a bullet in the Matrix. You know what I mean? Whoa, I ain't talking this fucking identity politics shit. Let me talk about something else. You know what I mean? Democrats weren't doing it. They just have the perception that they do it. And like my boss always said, perception's reality. Hey, they have the perception at work of this. You need to change people's perception. That's the problem. We need to change the perception. The Democrats aren't spending all their time talking about trans stuff and LGBTQ plus. I think that's
I whatever. Okay, so
it. So,
here's the counter to that.
yeah.
Okay, if you looked at Kamala's website when she was running for president, okay, she had this list like who we're fighting for,
Mm-hmm.
and she lists all these different groups of people, and these groups amount to 70% of the people in the country, and the people who are excluded are white men. So like if you're for everyone but white men, you're not for everyone but white men. You're just excluding white men. And like eh, and when we talk about like all these like DEI hires and DEI initiatives, like there is the video of the LA, not the fire chief, but like one down, the other Christina, uh talking about how, when someone comes, when the fire department comes to your house to put the fire out, and then someone comes into your house to rescue you, it's important that there's someone who looks like you. Like, no, it fucking isn't. It isn't important that someone looks like you. It's important that like they're able to carry you out and get you to safety. That's what's important. It's important that they know how to put the fires out. It's important that there are enough people hired to put the fires out. It's the same thing. Like this same thing. Like it's the same thing with like the Secret Service. Like, oh, we in order to get more recruitment, we're gonna make it so that we're gonna set the goal of having 30% of the people in the Secret Service are gonna be women by blah 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 time, and so they start hiring more women. Like, like there are real like impacts of these policies, and like that's the thing that people are really upset about, and rightly so. because like
I,
because again, like the divide isn't between
it's actually not.
this group and
That's not
that
why.
group, because it is better
Time out.
to be a gay black
No,
trans woman than it
it's
is
definitely
to
not.
be a poor white man. Like
See,
if
here's
the
where I
if the
think,
black trans woman is rich.
you know what? Again, you know what that is? That is the white person's perception of it. I think, I wish this podcast, I wish we should get some people on here. We should get some black people and some gay people and some other people on here who have jobs, and say, isn't it so much easier? Isn't it so much easier for you trying to transition? Isn't it so much easier for you at work and doing this? Hey, you're a black guy, in an industry that's like 90% white. Isn't it easier for you? Isn't that must be why you got hired, right?
The
Please tell
thing
me.
that the thing that I'm
It's
saying
not.
easier
It's
is to be is
white
to be
people have a
any collection
perception.
of minorities and rich than it is to be none of the minorities and poor.
Yeah, it's not.
Because the divide is
Well, rich.
rich poor.
Yeah, but the thing is this: all these places that like started like being Boys Town, and they start opening up like, okay, we're going to hire women. Okay, we got to start hiring women. Okay, we got to hire. they always end up the perception that Trump is selling, and some people are selling is, oh, well, they used to be better, but now they're just hiring these people because they're women or because they're a minority or whatever, right? No,
Mm-hmm.
it's not the case at all, right? And in fact, all these places have actually benefited from it. The military has benefited greatly by having women in the military, right? The Secret Service has definitely benefited greatly when they started getting women in the Secret Service. Women can do things that men can't do. Men can do some things that women can't do. Like, I mean, physical. Well, not all men either. That's another thing too. I mean, China, the wrestler Joni Laura or whatever, at her prime when she was freaking huge and roiding like crazy, and she was massive and built like a tank. I think she could do everything a man could do in the military. Like weights and physical stuff, right? She would have dusted most of those guys, right? But I mean, like guys can't have babies, sure, you know, but also women can do things. They can go undercover places. They can do operations that men can't do. You know, these
It's true.
it's
It's
they
true.
they get into these places here and it opens people's eyes. Oh shit! Well, hey, she could do this. Hey, we could do this. Women can do this. You know what I mean? And yeah, you may not. And there is something to be said about standards, right? Yeah, if you can't lift a person, if you can't, lift dead weight of like 130, 140 pounds or something, right?
If
You
you're
can't be
not
a
tall
lifter.
enough, if
Yeah,
you're not tall enough to body block the 6 foot tall president because you're a 5 foot tall woman, maybe you
yeah, but
shouldn't be the one body blocking him in
there's
the
true. You
Secret
know what
Service
though?
detail.
But you know what though? The Secret Service detail that protects people like that, like, it's a very, very, very small number. That's the like the elite of the Secret Service. Secret Service generally isn't just the people protecting the president, and there's Secret Service agents who protect their families, who protect other things. They go with their daughters. They follow them to schools. If they have kids, they do other things. And you need young people and other people. You need people who look different. You can't have a whole bunch of 40-year-old white guys being Secret Service agents because they stick out like a sore thumb if they're going around a high school following, the president's kid. You know what I mean? I mean, there's something to be said for having diversity. The
Hmm.
people who say we want somebody who looks like you, yeah, that's kind of stupid, right? Again, yes, you're true. In the fire, if you're burning, that's probably the case. But at the same time, let's say you're a fire department in 1960s, 1950s Alabama, okay,
Hmm.
and you're a black family, you know, living, I don't know, somewhere outskirts of Montgomery, Alabama, or something, right?
Hmm.
1950s. Do you think they would have felt better about a fire department that had some black people in it if it was an all white 1950s firefighting force?
Well, yeah, because Alabama in the 50s, like the
Well, here's what
people
I'm
setting the
saying.
fire were
There's
probably
a
the fucking
there's a
white
reason
firefighters.
there's a reason for diversity. Yeah. There's a reason for these kind of things. Back then, before we had any such thing as diversity, a lot of bad shit happened in the government and in the police and with the fire department and a lot of these places here because they didn't look like everybody. They looked like Donald Trump, you know? And there's a reason for diversity. It kind of helps keep people safer in other ways.
Hmm. I don't know. I think the thing, I feel like what you're really advocating for is for choosing
Diversity, all
people.
diversity means is diversity, right? You can't just hire a bunch of white people. You can't just hire a bunch of guys. That's what diversity is. And promoting diversity doesn't mean I'm going to promote that we don't hire these really good candidates because there's a black guy over there. That's not what diversity is. And no one's ever said that. And that's not what affirmative action was. You know, it just got a bad rep. It got a bad perception. It's people's perception. It's like you said, it's about selling stuff to people, selling it. We need people to sell equality because people don't understand diversity is equality. That's all it is.
I don't think you want.
Diversity.
I don't think you want equality. I think what you want is equity. Equity is like you. It's like everyone has the same chance to get something. Equality is everyone gets the same thing.
Yeah, okay, there you go. Equity.
Equity.
Sure. But if you don't have equity, you can't have equality. You know what I mean?
This is true. Yeah, but I mean, I don't think you want equality. Like I'm thinking back
For
to
rights,
these.
for people's rights, rights. That's equality, right? Should everybody have? I know you agree with this. Do you think everybody there should be equality in people's ability to get health care?
No.
No, you
So
don't think.
I think that they're. So I was thinking about this because I was watching the RFK hearing, and somebody asked Bernie Sanders, actually. It was in the Bernie Sanders video. Sanders is saying to him, "Do you think healthcare is a human right?"
Hmm?
And he's like, he gave what I thought was a kind of like a pretty decent, thoughtful answer that like the format of the hearing didn't have time for. So like basically every senator was getting like 7 minutes and that's it, which is not enough time to like have a substantive conversation with someone about anything. All you can kind of do is like be like answer yes or no to my set of questions so I can paint you however you're going to be painted by your answers to these questions, basically. Um, but like Sanders asked him like, is healthcare a human right? And he said something that was like, it was like, no, I don't think it's a human right because I think if somebody smokes for 20 years and gets lung cancer, that like they shouldn't have access, like them, having their cancer treatment because of their decision that they made is going to take away from, money out of the pool that someone who didn't make that decision could have used, blah, 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 blah. And it's going to decrease the quality of care for everyone else who didn't make bad decisions. And like, I also struggle with this idea of like having a right to things. Like I don't think that everything is just your right, that you just like naturally deserve everything. I think you deserve the things that you earn. Like a person who is in good shape and is healthy and like eats right and exercises and makes sure they sleep and drink water and does all the things, like they deserve to have the body and the health that comes from that. And somebody who does none of those things and a bunch of behaviors that are bad for them, they're sedentary and they eat garbage food, uh, they deserve to have that outcome. And I think like the difference comes when like those things are
But what
are
about someone? What?
differently available to people.
Yeah, but what if somebody has like bad thyroid glands and they eat perfectly right and they eat healthy and they work out and they gain weight crazily without any explanation? They start swelling and they get
Yeah,
huge. They get
yeah.
fat effortlessly and everything else.
Or you have
Now,
somebody or you
but
have somebody who like lives in a food desert and they don't have access to like to healthy food, right? The healthy food that is in their area is super expensive or requires them to like go way out of their way. Like their local grocery store just has kind of junk food for prices they can afford, and they'd have to go to like a further away place
I'm
and
just
spend a
saying
lot
though.
more money than they have for food.
I'm just
So like that's the equity difference, right? Like that's where like they should both have the option of doing the good thing, but they should also still have an incentive to do the good thing.
well, the person with the thyroid problem is doing the right thing and they can't help it. They
No,
have a
yeah,
thyroid condition.
no,
And
that's
what about
totally
the woman
true.
who? What about the woman who gets pregnant? Does she no longer get maternity care? I mean, it's her decision, man. She got knocked up. She got pregnant. That's
Actually,
her decision.
when it comes to okay, well, for one, that is that is alarmingly frequently not the case.
I'm just saying, if you say the smoker, well, I don't agree with the smoker. He made a bad decision. Well, this person drinks soda. That's a bad decision. They're eating sugary foods. They live too close to the city. They work in a coal mine. That's bad for your lungs, man. He made the decision to work in that
See
coal
now, and
mine.
now you're getting into yeah. See now you're getting into a whole bunch of very valid like systemic
Exactly.
pressures. That's what I'm talking about. Is like
That's why I think
er,
everybody should. I thought you would have. I thought you were going to answer the other way. It was like the lawyer question. I guess I should have answered a question I didn't know the answer to. I thought for sure you were going to say yes because I do think everybody. I think it is a. I mean, I think it should be a right. I mean, it's not a right everywhere because some places they just don't got doctors. They
but no,
don't
like
have technology.
no, no,
You
like
know,
I
in
don't
this
think that it should
country,
be a right. I think that it should be a privilege. I
I think
think
it
that it
already
should be a
is.
privilege. I think that it should be like if you live in America and
Hmm.
you contribute to the society in a way that you are able to, then you should be able to get healthcare. I think that like if you benefit from living in America and having your business in America and you make
Pay taxes in America.
dramatically more money than what you need to like live extravagantly and own a whole bunch of businesses, like your second $1 billion, for example, your second billion, okay, like you don't need your second billion. Your second billion should go back into all of the people who made you your first billion.
Yeah.
you know like it's not like, I don't think it needs to be a right for it to be the right thing to do.
No.
I guess like maybe it's just like a semantic difference, but
I
like,
think in our country, everybody should have a right to it. Like they're like here. I mean, honestly, it's the Hillary Clinton. It's the Hillary Clinton answer. Basically, what you're saying. I think everybody should have a right to, or like the Republicans say it too. This sometimes, like the right to access. Everybody should have the right to the same level of access. It's kind of like that's not really much different than like Medicare for all. Doesn't mean that's the only health care we would have would be Medicare for all. It just means everybody is entitled to the same baseline set. At least this. Everybody can go there and get this. You know what I mean? If you
yeah,
want extra specialists, you want extra this, you want second, third opinions, cool, you can go do that on your own. Everybody's entitled to this standard level of care. You're not going to have somebody getting kicked out of hospital and then kicked out of another hospital. Oh, we don't take you guys. Oh, you have to go to another hospital. You have to go to the projects down the street. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. Should everyone have access to care? Yes. Should
Yeah.
anyone go bankrupt
No.
because they had some sort of thing that they needed for a medical reason? No.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Should anyone be in like crippling medical debt? No. But should there be some consequence for like being a lifelong smoker or being sedentary? Uh, yes, and maybe that consequence is just like, you're less healthy and you don't live as long and your life isn't as pleasant or as able.
Disclaimer: I am a smoker. I smoke Marlboro Menthol 100s. There you
I mean, just disclaimer, I'm a former smoker. Like
go.
I
Yeah.
I I quit, I don't know, 6 years ago, something like that.
Yeah. Anyway, um, that was a long tangent.
That was a long tangent. But I was trying to steer us towards more something where it was more opinion, debate, discussion.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of times we end up kind of just like, banging on our talking points
Mm-hmm.
and um
Don't talk,
and
talk.
not doing as much of like a podcast talk. Yeah, we're kind of
Yeah.
like reading the news rather than like talking to each other. And I want to like have the news be like the the thing that
Jumping
provokes
off
the
point.
rest of the conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the jumping off point, which is good for
Yeah.
this week because honestly, that's been a really busy week for me. I got the doc. I just came. Man, I can't believe we are talking about healthcare stuff and that, and I just raced back from a doctor because
I'm,
I
I,
made
that I
bad
that I
choices in life.
that
I made
I
bad
wanted
choices
you
in
to
life.
go do. So I'm very glad that you did. I'm
I made
glad you
bad
went.
choices in life. If your company does a step challenge to encourage wellness, do not get so obsessed with winning that you end up running 2 marathons a day every day for weeks on end. It is not good for your health. Trust me on
You
this.
walked 50 miles a day every day?
Yeah. Well, walked, ran, rode a bike. And it's only the last like 2.5 weeks where I was going over 100,000 steps a day, like every day for the last like week or two straight, every single day. It was
Oh,
long.
that's way
It
too
was
much.
like, it was sick, man. I mean, it was sick. It was like 18-hour days on the feet. It was horrible.
And so
18,
this
19
did
hours.
something. This did something that causes pain in your knees and collapsed the arch of one of your feet.
Yeah. And I think maybe the bone shifted or something. Like I have one foot now that is completely a flat foot. I thought I had a lump on the bottom of my foot where the arch was. It's not. That's my bone. And apparently my left foot is now just completely flat with no arch, and my right foot still has a like, little arch that it used to have. But yeah, I messed myself up pretty good.
I mean, at least you know why.
Yeah, I won.
Yeah, no, healthcare, I would say not a right, but definitely something that America is able. to provide to everyone here
Yeah.
at a really reasonable cost, because there's such an overabundance of wealth, and it
Hmm.
shouldn't be something that we're it shouldn't be something where we're having like Brian Johnsons who are making shitloads of money by all these exploitative practices, because it just incentivizes bad behavior. It just incentivizes like, bad health outcomes and like non-empathetic standards of care. It's just, it incentivizes them to understaff nurses, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, more to come, I guess, maybe next week.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, anyway, if anybody's still listening, to the guy in South Carolina, to the person in New York, I don't know. Did you check the stats, Gabe? On what people are listening?
I did not check the stats yet
You
this
should
week.
check the
Do you want me to
stats. We'll see how many
pull
people
it
are
up?
listening. I kind of want to see how many people have picked up on this.
Sure.
It's growing exponentially. When you start with one listener, it's always growing exponentially. Just
Honestly, I feel like it's slowed down. So, okay,
really,
we're at
it can't slow down that much. Two.
we're at 20. We were at 24 downloads.
Oh, really?
Now, yeah, I'm sorry, we're at 24. We were at
Wow.
18 last week, but I don't think any of them were me this time. So
None of them are me. I've purposely not listened to
they're
my
all
voice.
new.
Wow,
So
there
yeah,
we go.
we have four in South Carolina. We have one in
South
Virginia, which I
What?
think was my niece. We have three in Iowa,
Freaking
two in
Iowa.
Indiana, 14 in Illinois. These are
Oh
just the
boy.
Zencaster stats. I don't have the Spotify stats, so
14
maybe
Illinois.
Spotify is a little bit
These might be
better.
people we work with. I
Maybe,
wonder. I don't know. If you
maybe.
if you work with us, let me know if you've listened. You
Yeah,
can message me at work.
there's a couple work people I gave I gave the link to one person that we work with. I'll tell you about
Okay.
offline. All right, actually, let's just
All
cut
right.
the podcast here. Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Stay alive, drink water, don't walk too much.
Yep. All right. Have fun. See you next week.